Season 10 of The Voice is headed into the live rounds here starting on Monday. And we've not done this before during the season. We cover it with lots of articles, but haven't had a chat like this. And the two guys who have written almost every article this season, Denton and John, are here with us. Let's talk about this season. How would you, John, rate this season like overall for the history of the show?
I thought last season was a standout season, and so to follow that one up with this season is a little rough for me, but there's a couple artists that I really like. In general, I don't think it's one of the best.
What about you, Denton? I mean, that is true. We had a really good winner, but it just seemed like that winner was going to be safe the whole season. So that's, for me, sometimes that's not as much fun as not knowing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I exactly agree. I don't think this is the best season we've ever seen, but it's definitely pretty good talent-wise. I think there's some people who could really impress going down the road, but last season, kind of knowing that Jordan was going to win the whole time, he wasn't exactly my cup of tea besides, so I didn't really enjoy watching someone I wasn't a fan of hurl his way all across the finish line with no competition. I mean, he just blew everyone away. It wasn't even close.
Right. Well, Sawyer kind of did that the previous season too, but I think I liked him better just as a more complete artist and not just, a belter. Let's talk about each team as they stand right now. There's 5 members left for each team. Christina Aguilera is an on and again, off again coach for this show, back again here for the spring. John, why? Even before the season started, we heard through the grapevine, off of all of the tapings, that this might be her best team ever, and it seems everybody's agreeing with that. Why has she done such a good job this year?
I think she lucked out in getting just a good group of people. I also wonder if the show wants to have a female winner. And because, we hear the coaches talk about how great her team is all the time. All the other coaches will say it. And so I feel like there's there's a desire on everyone's part to finally have a female coach win the season. So I think that's helping her too.
She's made really good choices, Denton. And, there were times, especially during the blind auditions, where it felt like she could have hit her button, but she didn't. So it almost felt like she was being even choosier, which, of course, is going to help you build a better team.
Yeah, I think she has been a little bit choosy this year, and I think she's had the opportunity to be choosy. There were some seasons where no one was picking her, and she kind of had to keep hitting her buttons just to fill her team. And this season, I think she is doing better, and I think she comes off better. There were seasons where she was kind of standoffish and not likable. I think this season and even the last season she was on, I really like her. I mean, she's kind of some people like her and some people don't, but she's one of my favorite coaches. I like her better than Adam.
Okay. John, it's one thing to have a great team, but you still got to, you could have a great team, but if Jordan Smith was playing this year still for Adam, it wouldn't matter. Who could win this whole championship?
Well, I think Allison Porter is one of the far and away frontrunners, for me at least, and I think a lot of the judges seem to think so too. And she's on Christina's team, so I think that is the closest to Jordan that she has. And there's 3 other people
that can really do even more so than somebody like Jordan or Sawyer. What I've liked about Allison is she can do all types of songs, all types of music. Just give her anything and she's going to do well with it.
Totally.
I think Allison's super exciting. She's my favorite contestant so far. And I think she's the clear front runner to win. And I was looking at Christina's team the other day, and when she had 10 people, it was like, wow, her team's amazing. But as they have to whittle it down, and when you think of who are her top 3 going to be, because I just had to write this article, and I was looking at who I think her top 3 are, I think Allison really is the only one who can win. As good as her team's been, I don't think she has another winner on her team.
I think she got a great steal, John, with Ryan Quinn, though. From the very beginning, I thought he was a really good standout performer, and then was it Adam that cut him loose?
Yeah, it was, and it's funny you bring that up because I completely agree, and I don't think all the judges were on the decision to keep Owen. They seemed to agree that Owen was great in that knockout, and I was shocked that they thought that because I thought Ryan was fantastic. So I mean, if we want to start
talking about Pharrell kind of decision where he kept the weaker of the two just because he knew the other one would be stolen.
I think he knew they were going to get stolen. Yeah.
Pharrell gives people away.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek. I'm looking at the screen of the performers here, not looking at you. What do you think about Ryan?
I think Ryan's the type of singer who can do very well on these shows. He's good. He doesn't blow me away, but maybe he will. He hasn't yet, but he definitely fits the mold of someone who could go very far.
Do both of you feel like those two will make it for sure next week? And then, if so, who would be the third one off of Christina's team?
I think Allison and Ryan will get voted through, and she'll save Tamar. I think she calls her Tamar. Is it Tamar? Tamar? Oh. But Tamar, I think
whatever Blake says, don't say
that.
John, what do you think about her remaining? Who will be the three?
Well, I don't think Ryan is a shoo-in for her. I think everyone but Kata, who I don't like, has the chance to get in. I think Allison's in for sure, but I kind of like Brian and Tamar better than Ryan. And I think that she'll definitely pick one of them because they are both pretty strong. So
Brian really has a strong personality. He was, and forgive me because I can't keep up with all this like you can. He's the one that had auditioned last year, didn't make it, came back, and was really much stronger.
And he had sang the national anthem at a basketball game.
Right. He's got a great personality. I think that could help him with voters.
Yeah. I think he's the high top of the season.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, that takes care of Team Christina. Oh, the other thing I will say about Allison is anytime you can have a story on any of these reality shows that resonates with people at home, I think that certainly helps. It helps create a problem like what I just had, or take away a problem, whereas I can't remember necessarily who each person is and where they were from and what they did. But her being the child star and having the addiction problems and bringing her family, all of those things together, I think really could take her to the final, for sure to the final grouping in a few weeks, and potentially a win. I mean, having a story is a good thing.
Yeah, they have Tamar being a part of the original Destiny's Child. They've been really playing that up. Sorry, you just exploded. They've been really playing that up too about how she was in the original incarnation of Destiny's Child. So that's
right.
They're doing a good job playing up the stories, definitely.
I think just overall, before we move on to the other teams, I think the show has never been better from this standpoint. I think the production values go up every year. I think their ability to do storytelling goes up every year. I think the artists are learning from previous seasons, and they're coming in better prepared, better ready to go. And certainly the coaches, it seems like, are learning from their own mistakes for the most part. There's still always going to be, on a given week, a situation where you go, why in the world will they keep this person over that person? But, we don't always, know their full reasons. Pharrell's especially known for that because he seems to keep almost like the wounded animal in a way. He wants to take care of them and release somebody that he knows will get stolen. But that hasn't worked out, totally in his favor. Let's move on now to, let's see. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Pharrell is the only coach who doesn't really care if he wins. I think he's willing to let people go. Adam and Blake for sure are hyper competitive. And I think Christina is to a degree, and I think Pharrell is kind of just there to see people sing and succeed.
just from a if I was an artist from a coaching standpoint, he's the person I would want because I think I would learn so much from him, regardless of whether I got eliminated or not.
Yeah, totally. Because he's a producer, and I think he likes to see growth in his singers, and the people he keeps around are the people he can help, rather than people who are already great at what they're doing.
Well, let's talk about his team. Denton, I'll give you first shot at his team. Who impresses you the most? Who could go all the way?
I think he has three. I mean, his team is all women at this point, but I think the three that stand out are Hannah Houston, Katie Peters, and Emily Keener. I think those three are going to go through for him. Mushu Mie, I think, is interesting, and maybe it'll depend on a song choice for her. And then Lacey Mandigo, they just keep saving her, and I don't really know why. But
she's the most saved person in voice history.
Back for more and back for more. They just can't let her go for some reason. But I think she will finally go next week.
What about you, John?
I pretty much agree. I think Lacey is obviously in 5th place on that team. Hannah is one of my personal favorites. I thought her battle round with Maya Smith, who is gone now, I thought that was fantastic, and I've loved her ever since that. But I think Katie is the most voice material in terms of her country leaning and the type of singers that we've seen go really far on the show before. So I think Katie's a front runner there, and I like Mushimi. And I think that Pharrell likes her because she's unique, and there's no one in the market that's like her right now. So I see him saving her.
I think it'll be interesting to see him decide between Mushimi, because he does say great things about her, and Emily Keener, who she could be up against, because he says great things about her too. He's called her a unicorn. He said she's special like 300 times. So it'll be interesting if he has to save between those two. That'll be interesting to see.
I think Hannah Houston's one of the most interesting ones they've got this year. I don't love too many of all 20, but I really, she is so intriguing to me. When she's talking or they're telling her story or she's at rehearsals, she's so different than what she is doing on some of these song choices.
I agree.
It's really quirky. She's quirky personality, and people will like that.
She's the teacher, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Was there anybody, and I'll go back to Christina for just a second too, but on Pharrell's team, as I'm looking at all the people that have been eliminated, anybody that really surprised you that was eliminated?
For me, it was Maya Smith, but I thought her knockout was terrible, and so she deserved to go. But I loved her from previous performances, and so I was surprised to see her go.
Okay.
I'm not missing anyone on his team. No.
Okay. What about Christina, who you just did? Anybody that she falsely eliminated?
I think Daniel Pacino could have possibly done well for her. I was surprised she put him up against Allison, which is basically sending him to slaughter.
Well, that's happened at least once the coaches took over. You look at it sometimes and go, why would you pair this person versus this person? I'm a big sports fan, so we just came off of NCAA basketball. If I was a coach, I don't care what their personalities or their styles, I would internally, with whoever's advising me, not the star advisors, but whoever, friends, co-workers, whatever, I would rank my team 1 through whatever that number is that week and pair 1 versus 10 or 1 versus 12 or whatever, and then 2 versus 11, and there's no way I would pair 2 really, really good ones together.
Yeah, you kind of have to wonder what hand production has in that, and I think that what, as a show, they want is diversity, and so I think when they pair people that are similar, they do that because it doesn't make sense from a show standpoint to keep similar singers around, because they want to draw in as much audience members as possible, right?
I do understand it a little more in the battle rounds because you're asking two people to perform together. So you've got to find a song that both of them could do, reasonably well on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There were some pairings on this knockouts, I guess, that I just thought, why are you making trouble for yourself, in pairing two people that you probably want to keep?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Team Blake. I think it's the weirdest team Blake has at this stage of five. People that you might not normally associate with him. Um, let's start with John this time. What do you think about Team Blake?
I agree. He has one of the oddest teams he's ever had, except that, I mean, Mary Sarah is like a clone of Emily Ann, who was the runner-up last year. And so I think that though he has an odd team for him, he's found one person that he knows he can go far with. And I think that that's who he wants to go far with.
You think if you put some truth serum in him, he would choose Mary Sarah over Adam Wakefield?
Yeah.
Wow, you agree?
I wouldn't be surprised if Blake chose Mary Sarah over Adam Wakefield. She has industry ties. He's very loyal to country singers. But I think Adam Wakefield could win the whole thing. I think he will go farther than Mary Sarah, whether Blake wants him to or not. I think he could win. I think he's got the kind of package that can bring the votes in, and he'll get country fans, rock fans. So I think he has a really good shot.
Do you? I know because you just wrote this article that we just posted today. Actually, people can go read it. But who are the two that you think are going to be eliminated off of this team?
I think when his team is in their final three, it won't look like such an odd Blake team. Let's just say that. I think Joe May, who we just stole from Christina, I think he's going right away. Because I just don't see Blake's keeping his last save. And then it'll be interesting. I said in my article, I think he'll keep Katie Baston, who I really like. Otherwise, it's between her and Paxton Ingram, who's been on his team. If he wants a more diverse team, he'll keep Paxton. But I think Mary Sarah and Adam will definitely be voted through, and then it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
You agree on that? You think those will be the two that are gone?
100%. I agree with him on that.
I don't know nearly as much about these things as both of you do, but I can't imagine a scenario where Blake wants to look the public in the eye and say he had a team of 3 white people and 2 black people, and he cut both with black people. I just can't. I can't imagine NBC even. I can imagine them having a conversation with him saying, if it comes down to this, we really wish you wouldn't do that. I hope that's not being perceived as cynical, but but I will say on the other side of that same argument, I think he's had a real affection from Paxton Ingram from the start, and I think, wasn't he the one, not there might have been others, but he was one that chose Blake and early on and just really surprised people by choosing Blake. And I think that went over really well internally, among the staff and the audience and everything else. So I just, something about that connection there, I think there's more of a connection there than we realize.
Well, I think Paxton's the one that Blake turned around really quickly on and commented that he heard something in his voice almost instantly that he loved. Mm-hmm. So I think you're kind of right onto something about their connection.
Joe May, there's no way Joe May is. Joe May, that was the very last performer of all of the knockouts, and Blake had to steal him. I don't think Blake really thought through as well, maybe as he should have, on what groups were remaining, who might be available, and so forth. Joe's fine, but I don't think Blake necessarily wanted him. There's no way, if Joe doesn't make it with the 2 audience votes, Blake is not keeping him.
And Blake generally throughout the seasons is very loyal to his original team members, so he could go for Paxton very easily. Katie was a steal as well. He always pairs his steals against each other in knockouts. So, I mean, he definitely does give a little bit of favor, at least in the beginning, to people who have been with him since the beginning.
For either of you, was there a person on his team that you wish was still around? His original team?
Not that I can think of.
No.
Okay. So you think he's made good choices then?
I think he's done as well as he could. He had a tough time getting some people on his team. I think he has a pretty solid team.
All right, Team Adam, another interesting team. Let me start by saying, who did Catherine Ho hurt to get the kind of season she had? Now, not that I was dying to see her or anything, but what do you either of you know, even just technically, why would somebody not make it all the way to as far as she did and really never be seen?
I don't know, but I think that is so frustrating, just in general, that they'll show us people in that way when they are eventually depending on viewer votes. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Is there any legal? I mean, it could. Let's say she got dropped. You know, all of this stuff's been recorded up through last week. Is there any possibility? Because this has happened before that she's threatened legal action or you know, because she knew she had been cut at that point. You know, and then they just decided to cut her all the way through. Or could one or two of her song choices not have gotten legally approved? You know, every song has to be vetted and approved by the publishers that own the rights to those songs.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I don't know if I remember anyone who made it all the way to the last round before lives, and I don't even know what her voice sounds like.
Well, in this, I don't remember the other rounds, but this one, because it's so fresh in my memory, they showed the person that beat her, probably 30 seconds of that performance, didn't even show her on stage, not even like sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Something, I guarantee you, and I won't, unless somebody pulls me aside in the hallway and tells me when I'm over there, but something happened somewhere along the way, or you know, in this season, where there had to be a reason or two why that happened.
You'll have to ask Carson about that the next time you see him.
Well, Carson may or may not. Well, I think Carson would even know on that level because that was very unusual. Okay, Adam's rest of his team. Who's the person that could go all the way?
Laith.
Laith.
Yeah.
He would be the most interesting choice in the 10 years, right, in terms of how he looks compared to the other 9 winners?
Right, but I think we saw that work really well for Jordan Smith. A lot of his narrative was that he had a voice that didn't match what people thought he should look like for that voice. And not that Laith has that, but Laith has something unexpected about him. And when I watch him, I think he just exudes this like joy that makes me really connect with him. So I think viewers will probably do that too.
Okay. Do you agree with that?
Not totally. I think Laith is interesting. I don't know. I don't think Adam will have anyone in the final.
The final 4, or you don't think Adam has anybody?
I don't think so. I don't think his team is very good, and I think he's gonna have trouble. I actually like Brian Nira, who Pharrell was the one Pharrell dropped knowing he'd be stolen. I think he gets better every time I see him. So I hope he does well because he's someone that I think is interesting.
Shalia, I think is how you say her name. She was also Pharrell, right? Yes. And Adam has her as his other steal on this team. I thought she was really. I don't remember who she was up against, but I thought she way won her particular knockout round over the other person.
I remember that being a really good knockout round. And I think that what's interesting about her is she sings country music, right?
I think she's done one country song.
Oh, okay. Well, I think this was her country song, and I think we don't get very many black females singing country music.
Right.
And so there's a void in the marketplace for that, and I think that people could really connect with that.
Was she the one that, as Pharrell was talking, giving his analysis of that knockout round, and you almost started getting a feeling that he might be eliminating her, and Adam, before she's ever even eliminated, says, "I dare you to release her." If that's the case, then there may be an affection there to the point of when we're talking about, let's say she doesn't make the audience vote. If Pharrell really likes her that much, not Pharrell, Adam, could be a save coming there, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure who he would save.
Let's go into that. Who most likely are going to be the two audience winners of his? We think Laith is a for sure, and then maybe one other. And then who do you think he would save?
I think Laith will get voted through, and then I think it's really close between the other four. I think either Brian, Shelley, or Owen could all get voted through, but Adam is he overthinks a lot about like who can win, what do they look like, what do they sound like, and I think he has a very false impression of Caroline, and I don't know what it is about her that he likes so much, but I think he will keep her around. I think he thinks she's like Sawyer Fredericks. She's not. She's young and cute, and I think he thinks there's more to that than there potentially is.
You agree, John?
I kind of agree on Denton's perception of Caroline, but I don't think Adam will save her. I think she's very much on the bottom just because she got that crappy edit with Catherine Ho. And I think Laith is definitely in. I think Brian and Shelley are battling for that second audience vote. And I don't like Owen, but I think Adam really does. So I think Owen gets Adam saved, one way or the other.
Yeah, Owen even beat out the other guy we were talking about, and kind of a surprise. So that may be tipping who he likes as well. That is an interesting group. Is there anybody from his team in the past that you wish was still around?
No, I think he's had a pretty crappy team all season.
He had a rough team. I thought that there was a blonde woman named Natalie Yakavazi, who I thought should have won her battle round, but now I can't even remember. I think now I can't even remember who she was up against. But I just remember thinking that was a mistake, and no one stole
Welcome
her.
to my world. Almost any season of any reality show, if it didn't air that week, I cannot remember. I usually can remember the winner for the season, which brings me to these. You got 20 people left. With 7 or 8 weeks away from the ending. Call your shot right now, John. Who's winning this season?
Allison.
Christina and Allison will win.
Yeah.
What about you, Denton?
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say Christina and Allison, but watch out for Blake and Adam Wakefield. I think they have a real shot.
Okay. Now, quickly, as we wrap up here, I was so disheartened to hear Miley Cyrus is going to be the knockout advisor. Anytime you've got that advisor during this, on any given season, that's somebody you're going to see a whole lot of because they're advising all 4 teams. She was so good and must have been so nice and personable and interesting behind the scenes that she's now going to be a full-time coach next season. Let's start with John. What did you think about her?
Well, I love Miley Cyrus, so I was thrilled that she was going to be doing it, and I agree that she came off really well. I think what's going to make her a great coach is that she has experience in every genre of music throughout her career, and so she's going to attract a lot of attention from the singers. They'll want to work with her because I think that she has a vast amount of knowledge to really pull from.
Didn't the thing I was impressed the most with, it wasn't like just a personality thing. We've had some, coach advisors and mentors and people that it was just strictly, their personality. They didn't add much. She took notes. She gave notes. She would sing along. She would sing, no, sing it like this. I mean, that's probably why they thought of her as possible coach, because she put her all into it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't give a lot of credit to child stars who then become adults, but she's gone through a lot, and she's taken a lot of notes. She was only, 23, but she's been around since she was a young teenager, and she's accomplished a lot in those young years. I think it'll be interesting to see how the singers react, and when they see her next to older artists, which singers will gravitate towards her. I mean, she could have a very young team or not. I'm interested to see who chooses her as their coach when she's sitting next to, well, and now Alicia Keys, too, who is, I'm excited, is going to be part of it. I think she'll be great.
It'll be interesting from the other side, too, to see the types of people she turns around for. Yeah. Will she gravitate toward what she was, or a younger person, or is that kind of old hat to her? She's gonna respect the veteran people a little bit more. I don't know. Nobody knows.
I picture her with a very diverse, interesting team. I think she probably would like Leif. With
her father's background and her, growing up in country, he's now got a rival for those country artists. They're not going to automatically go to him.
Right.
Well, what else, as we wrap up here, I will say, just to give you a little, both of you and the audience that's watching this, a heads up, I was able to wrangle the schedule for the rest of the season. It's going to, because every season has had a little bit of a difference on scheduling, but I was so happy, not because I cared for it, but just give us something to go on. Last year, we just didn't know how many people are being eliminated on a given week and on these live rounds, but it's going to be exactly like last year. We will go from 20 to 12 next Wednesday. They've done that for quite a while. Then no double eliminations for a while like they did some seasons. It'll be one at a time until they get going from 12 to 8 week by week. And then the 8, I don't like this. The 8 drop to 4, and that's your final 4. I just think that's not fair to those people that have really worked to be 8, 7, 6, and 5.
I don't like that big drop in the middle. I think it really cut. I mean, I would prefer a big drop earlier than.
I'd rather go 2 by 2, maybe from the 12 to the 10, maybe the 10 to the 8, and then maybe then maybe 1 by 1 or something. I just don't think it's fair to do that to people that have really worked to get to that final 8. And suddenly it's 4.
Yeah, that's rough.
And the season finale will be the week of May 24th, whatever that Monday, Tuesday is.
Exciting.
So way longer than Idol and some of these other shows this year. Idol, it finishes tonight, doesn't even make it into May sweeps for its final season. So that's rough.
They fast-forwarded that one.
They really did. Guys, anything else you want to add as we wrap up?
No, this was fun.
Your first time on a Slugfest with us?
It is.
You'll come back for more?
Probably.
Okay. All right, guys. We thank you for all the articles you're writing, the polls. We've got the new Blake Shelton poll up already for this week. We've got Adam and Varel and Christina poll coming with us today. And we thank you for watching and hope you're enjoying The Voice this season.